All right, and I call this meeting to order. The attendance, right? Me here, Kathleen Siebel here, you Mark here, Kathy Ryan here, our SLIP representatives, Ontario here, and missing our Heidi Hoffman, our council representative, and Sarah Mallory. And are there any changes to the agenda? No, all right. Do I have a motion to approve the July minute?
I didn't know action, sorry. I'd rather, yes. Approval. I'll second.
Okay, minutes are approved. And community engagement, anyone have any community engagement reports?
No, not really.
Okay. I'll do my own community engagement. I really love the chutes and ladders out here.
Oh my God.
I love it.
I came, my husband and I came in and said, oh, I'm not supposed to shoot some ladders. I said, but it's not.
It was one of the summer reading family programs. So the interns and Marianne and Hannah got out there and painted. Took a lot longer, it was very labor intensive to create the board.
Is it actual paint?
It's paint.
It's not chalk.
Oh no, that's good.
Permanent. Cool.
Yeah.
That's good.
I mean, it's
I
obviously
thought it was
getting,
chalk.
it's
I
getting
did too.
worn down a couple weeks. So
How do you spin?
they handed each kid a giant die.
Okay.
Like cardboard die, and then they would toss it and then move. They physically moved,
Yeah.
Yeah. It was fun. And I shared a picture of it with Spencer, city manager, and we go back and said, well, in Canada, we would have snakes and ladders.
Oh, that's right.
So
You slide down snakes?
so that's what they do in Canada.
No, it's poisonous.
Snake poison.
Okay. Garden snakes that go with them.
Well, then you could like roll up. Not Tyrannosaurus. What's the one with the dinosaur that has all those?
Oh, Triceratops?
Yes.
Yeah.
With those spurs, the
Yeah.
stegosaurus.
Stegosaurus?
A steg.
We're gonna brush up on our dinosaurs.
Yeah, see, that's what you'd go, if you're gonna slide down a snake, you should climb up a stegosaurus.
That could be.
All right, and the assistant director report.
And I think actually I did include that with your, so you can kind of read along. We have the July program statistics, so, yeah, we're getting, more and more folks at board game night. I think even maybe references that with in the highlights. You can see the details of that. We even had 14 people at the Friday Fun with Fountain Pens, which is literally a pilot program that we're trying with a local woman who is interested in having opening a pen shop. And so a pen shop.
Okay.
Yep, buying pens and reading and pens.
Well, I have a pen fetish, so I understand.
Well, then you should connect with Michelle Christensen.
So in this pen shop, going to have quills or, I mean, all areas of pens
That's a good question.
to be announced.
Didn't participate in the, that happened when I was.
So what fun were they having? Like drawing?
Yeah, I think they like learned kind of maybe calligraphy or, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I like it. Yeah. So yeah, we've had, obviously huge numbers at all of our, summer reading events.
These have good numbers.
Yeah, it's really good numbers. And our grown-up, program members are also, the summer reading program are also getting ramped up, so hopefully we'll keep building on that. I think last year was the first year we did it in adults. So, well, here you go, they, I guess it doesn't talk about the details, but they did an independent workshop at, yeah, we piloted it. We did also join with other Oregon libraries which we received 10 Ravensburger puzzles. So we can have like a puzzle competition. That's called speed puzzling. And yeah, that other libraries have had this type of program. So for like 2 hours, you're setting up, you have a team, and it's, you know, whoever finishes the puzzle first. So
Very cool. 500 pieces.
yeah, we'll see how that goes. So yeah, and a little bit of pivoting, we had a program arranged and she had to cancel. And so Josh is going to do a screening of American Graffiti and is putting together his own sort of intro and outro for that program along the lines of what the film historians have been doing. So
Any questions on the assistant director report? You. On to the president foundation report.
Oh, okay. I'm just thinking, okay, what am I gonna say? So, the Seaside Library Friends of Foundation, kind of slowed down during, I'm gonna say, starting May, June, we kind of slowed down. We had some people away, so we didn't have as many meetings of our board and such. So we made the decision that what we're concentrating now on is increasing membership. And we made the decision to remain with the same board, which we were going to have elections at the end of July. Decided not to. We put together a resolution that all of us who are working on it now will remain on the board as is to December, and that's when we will have a membership meeting, and it helps us kick off our official year. Our fiscal year is the same as the calendar year. So what we're really concentrating on now is getting the word out about membership and recruiting members and that kind of stuff. Towards the end of the year, we'll be looking at different ways that we'll also need volunteers, especially volunteers to work in the bookstore. Because our purpose is really to support the library, and most of that support comes by the way of some free stuff. We paid for all the programs during the summer. And we now have, and I didn't bring it with me, I can go and get them if anybody wants to buy them. We now have 2 different book bags that we are selling, a canvas one and a nylon. And Leah will tell you the reason that there's 2 of them is because I like the canvas one. Leah likes the nylon. And so we decided we'll get some of each. And so I'll go get some while you continue meeting and bring them and show them to you. So.
a little competition going there.
Well, and there's some other competition because now the library has its canvas bag.
Well, we had run out and so we had no bags to sell, and yeah, in the interim, we went with the one book, one Seaside logo. So we got a side.
So, questions? We're moving along.
Hey, Jennifer, will you give us the library director report?
Sure, I did include, I know it's not that one, so we can read along. One big plug I would like to make is we are hosting a blood drive here on the 12th. I believe it's the first time we've hosted a blood drive here in the library. And my understanding is the way it works with the Red Cross is they find folks to partner with, and then they offer them regularly in that same location. So, if you always would give at a particular, with the rec center, when you're there giving blood, you would then just sign up for the next time that they're in town, in that location. So we're hoping that it's a good partnership. It's set up for Tuesday, August 12th. And we do need to get folks signed up, so, you know, if somebody wants to give up some of their blood and qualifies or whatever, yeah, we can, I think we might have a link on the webpage, you do know them, but, yeah, we're trying to let folks. Yes. What else? So, yeah, the statistics, because we just wrapped up at the end of June, was the end of the fiscal year. So I'm in the process of pulling together the yearly statistics that will then get reported to the state of Oregon. And so just a few highlights of those. We've circulated over 50,000 items. We added 2,141 books and also weeded 2,261 books. So when you've been in the stats, you probably can tell that there's more and more room, which is nice. Sort of like when your closet gets too full, it's hard to find the new stuff. So, and we did have 284 programs and outreach events with a total of 7,850. Right. A lot of library cards, meeting room reservations are holding steady, lots of volunteers, and approximately 45,600 visitors to the library. And now we actually know that that's a realish number, whereas before we were just calculating based on the in and out from the front door, and I think that was actually the number that was being reported. So in the past, it might have been 85,000 or something. Well, we didn't have 85,000 visitors. We had half of that because they came in at the
They were counted twice.
So this is a more realistic number to report. I did go ahead and schedule, and I spoke with Ed from Public Works. We were talking about, you know, the cost for treating the roof and having it cleaned, and while it seems like an exorbitant price, it's pretty standard, and if kept up regularly moving forward every couple of years, it will be less expensive than that, and then I can just budget for that. So I don't have $8,500 in my budget line for building maintenance. I think I have $5,000 in the budget maintenance or building maintenance. But I think of it, and this is how Zach will talk about it. You know, I'm given a big bucket, and we've divvied out our own little smaller buckets. So as long as I don't go over whatever that big bucket number is, so there's areas where. So we're gonna have it done, and then we won't have to do it for another couple. So that will happen in the fall.
And when you do it in a couple of years, it will not be as expensive.
Correct. Yes. Yes. Unless everything gets more and more expensive as things.
Did you say the city's gonna do it with their own manpower, or is it?
No,
an
outside
outside
contractor
contractor?
hired it out. Yeah. We had talked about maybe having, you know, the fire trucks come and blast stuff up on.
Yeah, probably not.
No,
No.
just.
You could ruin. Yeah,
We'll
you could.
just go for the
Yeah.
national.
Yeah.
Is there-
involved.
By any chance, is there a goal up there? Because a guy that I know that does this work told me that he's getting more and more calls about get this gull chip off my roof, and he said it's like cement. It is.
You know, I mean, looking at it from down here, what I see primarily is the moss.
Okay.
But not a lot of. I'm sure there are areas.
I think he
that
was
are-
measuring golf as the worst substance to get off.
I would imagine. Yeah, when it lands on my car, I try to remove it within a day, otherwise.
Not strong enough to remove the pain.
And I don't know if you noticed, but our two handicap signs in the parking lot have been refreshed by Public Works and they look amazing. So they did the same sort of treatment that they do for painting lines in the city. It's like this heat, application, and so it's very vibrant and so I'm very excited about that. Then our 3 class of works interns will be wrapping up in the middle of August. But we had one request from one of our interns to see if she leaves for college, but not until the end of September. And she asked if there was a possibility that she could continue to work. And we decided to find the money to have her work an additional 5 weeks at 20 hours a week. So she'll help us with finishing up some projects and yeah, she's
Just now.
yeah, so we're excited.
You wanna be in a librarian? Did you wanna go into that?
No, she's gonna save the world. Save the world, but she's learned a lot, yeah. Just about what happens in libraries and yeah, actually this morning, so the American Library Association hosts their annual conference in July. And so I saw the interview with the former librarian of Congress who was fired. Let go of her duties. Anyway, what they and so she was interviewed by another author, and she's a lovely. I can send out the link to take a look at the full interview, but they referenced Nikki Giovanni and the
different ones, so Kelly Granovich.
that she wrote about the library and have it in book form, but I included the text of it in your packet. So it's just she has a little preamble coming up. She says, hurry up Mulvaney Street, all the way to Vine Avenue to the Carnegie Library. And then she says, a library is a place to be free, to be in space, to be a cook, to be a crook, to be in love, to be unhappy, to be quick and smart, to be contained and cautious, to surf the rainbow, to sail the dreams, to be blue, to be jazz, to be wonderful, to be you, a place to be, yeah, to be. Anyway, and then it goes, but
It kind of bring tears to my eyes.
exactly. I mean, Nikki Giovanni was an amazing writer and she passed. Anyway, so I thought I would just do a story time and share that because I was inspired by it today. It was a nice reminder of what we do every day here and why we do it. And yeah, so I wanted to share that. Thank you.
Any questions on the director report?
Yes. I'm just curious, these 2,000 something related books, whatever related books go, I know it's always like a change in.
Yeah, so for the most part, the books that if we're getting rid of them because of condition, we will box them up and go to the trash. Unfortunately, the process to try to recycle them is pretty cumbersome. So there's glue and there's plastic and there's stamp and there's all the things.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, go to trash. And then things that are still in good condition and might sell, we then hand off to the Friends and Foundation. And then they do their best to eventually sell them. Give them another.
I would like to just bring up that the conference that just finished. The workshop or seminar, whatever they're calling it, that I was most interested in was the responsibilities of the library board. And unfortunately, I couldn't make it, but I did find out that it is recorded. And it's available as of yesterday. And I would very much like this board to watch it together and be able to discuss it and to see where we stand as a board compared to what they're putting out there. I would just feel like it would be a really good thing as a team to do. So I'm charging you, Jennifer, to find that so that we can maybe play it here next month.
I actually look for, usually we get the emails saying the recordings are available, and I haven't received those yet, so.
I haven't either.
But I did look for them before we started, because I knew that was gonna be a question that came up. I was able to see, I popped in and out of them because, there are these blocks of time and
Right.
stuff going on, so, yeah, I think each one is about 55 minutes or so.
Right, so we could do it, I don't know if we need to take all of next month's meeting or do an extra meeting, come early, but I just think it would make me feel like, I'm very, very selfish here. I just think it would make me feel more like a board member, just having that and then being able to discuss it with everyone.
Absolutely, and I think too, the stuff that we're working on for city council.
Yeah.
Is kind of along those same lines of who are we, why are we, what are we?
Right.
Would have been great timing had we watched it before.
And I don't know if there's a huge rush on this, I'm not.
Yeah, there is.
Oh.
I'm gonna put my city council hat on now.
Okay.
And we really are looking to get this done before the end of the year.
Oh, okay.
And so we as the liaisons are getting pushed. And we have to kind of push our the groups that we are liaising with. So yeah. So it's not like it's tomorrow, but it is with all due speed. Because the process really is that each board, commission, or committee is giving the suggestions to the council. Staff is going to be going over things and saying that, doing things like this kind of works or this doesn't work, or we can make it all the same here, but it has to be different there. And then it's gonna come to the council, and as you know, government runs slow, and all the councilors are gonna have their say on things. And then it has to be turned into ordinance. And then because it's an ordinance, it has to go through 3 readings. So
tomorrow would be good.
And I'll just share with you, I'm liaison to 2 groups. The Community Center Commission has already done a bit of work, but they still have more to go. The tree board has done nothing. And at the next tree board meeting, which I think is next week, I am going to be facilitating it. And they don't have a good sense of what or understanding of what this is. And what I have basically said to them, this is basically you're suggesting what your bylaws should be and how your committee should work and contribute to the whole organization. And from, who should the council be considering to be on the committees, to what's the breadth of responsibility, the breadth of authority, et cetera, et cetera. And I have shared with my 2 groups My personal philosophy is that this should all lead to, each board, committee, or commission having the ability to do a report once a year to the city council. I envision it towards the end of a year, so it dovetails with the council as we go towards budget. And I would personally like to see, this is Tita, this isn't the council, that that in part of that report would be, this is what we did. This is what we would like to do for next year, what we think would be a good idea to do. And if it costs money, this is what it costs. So that as we go to budgeting, we can say, okay, this money is set aside for this committee, for this committee's work, for this board's work, that kind of stuff. So rather than the council doing this in a vacuum, we want the people who are already on the boards, committees, and commissions to have a say in it.
Where are we in space here? Library policy review.
Yes, so the unfinished, this one, I think did I share this or show this to you last time, that I was basically stealing from Beaverton, going through, the policies that they had outlined and whether or not they sort of aligned with ours or they need to be revamped.
Send an email.
Did you, is it that one that you emailed to us?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Cause I think I
yeah.
emailed that acres.
And yeah, so I pretty much created like a to-do list of, for each one, for example, like the, the distribution of free materials policy, right? So this is, kind of like so modify it and adopt it essentially. So it seems like the format was really, I love that it was just alphabetical and each one was separate, and if you needed the meeting room one or the rules for use, so you could go right to it very easily. I don't think there's anything that's in our policy that's not reflected in the version ones. So if anything, it's just adopting it so that we're adapting them so that they apply to our facilities. And so for each one, for example, interlibrary loan, I sent that to Connie to look over and see if that was, that it's in alignment. Same with children's and teen area, sent that to Marion and to review. So it seems as though it's a great place to just start, because instead of starting from scratch. The other thing, and I'm not meeting with the other libraries in the Northwest Library Cooperative, so Warrenton and Astoria, but we are scheduled to meet in 2 weeks. Because we do have a desire to maybe have the policies somewhat in alignment, so that while we are 3 independent library systems and we do share a catalog, so we have shared circulation policies that are those, because it's not like you check out a book from Warrenton and you have different circulation restrictions than you would in Astoria or Seaside. So we have aligned that, and it seems like it makes sense to maybe have the bulk of them be in somewhat of alignment. So we're going to touch base about that. 2 weeks. So that's where we are on the end. And I think, we had talked about chunking it out, and I could send sections of it to you for input or editing. But really I think the bulk of it is done, which is pretty great.
I thought you could literally just substitute the word seaside. I read it through 3 times and I felt like that cool.
Yeah. So that's where we are with the policy stuff. So that's still probably staying in unfinished business until we have
But progress.
it's definite progress. Yes.
That we don't have to start from scratch.
So then on to drafting a recommendation for the ordinance.
Yes, so I reached out to the state library for some guidance about this, and they provided some wonderful resources. I think I sent all this out to you ahead of time. So they basically have drafted a sample ordinance. And again, our charge isn't necessarily to write the ordinance. What we are charged with, or what you all are charged with, I'm gonna be writing it down because I'm just scribe, is essentially, you know, asking those questions of, you know, what is our scope? What are our, what's our charge? And how, I think that's what he's looking for. I was actually, because again, the email was sent to all of the commissions, committees and board, well, I guess that's just board.
We have more than one board.
Oh yeah, the tree board. And what's interesting is, in some searching, we found, there was a resolution on April 15th, again, I think I sent this out, the PDF of it. And then John and I actually found the physical, you know, onion skin paper folded up in the file upstairs in City Hall where this document lives. So it's the resolution, basically the establishment of the free public library of the city of Seaside. Blah, 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 blah. And he is hereby authorized and directed, the mayor, to appoint a public library board of the city of Seaside to consist of 5 members, one of which shall hold office for 1 year, one to hold office for 2 years, and it goes on. Anyway, and then that said, appointment shall be confirmed by the common council of the city of Seaside, and thereafter said public library board shall have full and absolute authority to act as such according to the laws of the state of Oregon relating to public libraries. So it's essentially,
It's the date on it.
April 15th, 1935. And Blake, Clay, Kerr, Moore, and Otten were yeas. There were no nays, and it was signed by E.T. Stafford, mayor. Then we also had in handwritten on the second page from May 6th of 1935, the library board members appointed by Mayor Stafford.
So who were they?
Max Schaefer for 1 year, J.O. Blake for 2 years, Mrs. C.B. Drake for 3, J.J. Burgess for 4, and Mrs. W.J. Martin for 4.
Women didn't go by their first names.
So, you know, it's interesting, we now have some,
I'm happy there were women.
the physical, you know, but it's a resolution, it's not an ordinance. So it's, I think that's part of,
We want to change it from a resolution into an ordinance.
No, because we have ordinance now. So what your work will culminate in is us changing the current ordinance. And the current ordinance grew out of a resolution.
I don't think the library board has a current ordinance, is what
I
kind of
think
things
that was the issue, yeah, so we actually don't even have.
It's an ordinance, because it's what gives us the guidelines for how long people have their board position.
You know what I mean, I was saying that the library board, they've never got, like,
Never been
followed
codified.
through. Yeah.
And so we're basically following the state library guidance, right, and the Oregon revised statutes of, you know, the definition of a public library and governing bodies and things like that. So I think that's what we've been following. It's just never been codified. So
So when are we gonna do it?
Now,
Now,
so right now, I think what we could do is essentially go through, I'm gonna be the scribe. Is I asked, could we just send him some bullets, you know, and this would be what what you all are submitting as, you know, in response to his request. And then I think the next step after that, which Tito was referring to, that's then shared with staff. And so, for example, let's say you came up with a bunch of ideas that sounded great, but in actuality, like, oh no, that's probably not gonna work for me as the library director. I would have that opportunity to come back and say, these pieces feel good, this part, not so much. Here's my recommendation, and so then those things would then it goes to city council and then it's read.
And for you to know that that we do differentiate on council between ordinance, which is difficult to change, and policy, which is easier to change. And so, and usually for an organization that's like bylaws are difficult to change, but your policies are easier to change. So policy is sort of like, how do we carry out the bylaw? It's the bylaw or the ordinance is the what, and the policy is the how.
So from maybe, and I'll share these out with you, if you wanna just take it, I only have 2 copies, but and again, that's just the sample that Oregon using.
One.
You can show, yeah, that was shared by the state library of like stuff that makes sense to have it included. And it doesn't necessarily follow this, but to go back to Spencer's original email, you know, foundational purpose, why was this board originally created? Well, it's mandated by the Oregon revised statute, right? So that's why. Our why is in order to be a public library, in the eyes of the state, we have to have this
and
a governing ordinance. So our why is basically dictated by state revised statute. Yeah. You know, in his questions, in what ways can this committee most effectively support council's decision making, and what types of topics or issues should this committee be making recommendations on? You know, what
Functioning of the library.
right.
So I don't know if you've all read what we do have, like, that is, it's my understanding it is an ordinance. So it says the library board acts in advisory capacity to the library director and Seaside Public Library on behalf of the Seaside City Council regarding the operations of the library. The Seaside Public Library Board advises the library director on matters that relate to library services, policies, and funding. The Seaside Library Board shall approve bylaws, recommend library policies to the City Council, follow Oregon's open meetings law and public records laws, build a good community support for the library's services while actively listening and responding to the community request for library services. Then it goes into who's eligible. It must be residents or owners or employees of businesses within the city limits. And this I know the council wants you all to review. What are the rules for being eligible? The board consists of 5 members. Is that what you still think should be? Appointed by the mayor subject to the city council approval. All terms of office shall be 4 years beginning on December 31st, and no member shall hold office for more than 2 full consecutive terms. So 8 years is what it's saying. The board shall meet at least once a month in the library at a designated time, and special sessions may be called by the chair of the board should the chair deem it necessary. The board shall elect a chairman and a vice chair at the beginning of each year, and in the absence of the chairman, the vice chair shall assume the duties of the chairman. The members shall serve without salary or compensation for services rendered. So that's what's sitting there that you can look up and see, and that's all there is. So this is your opportunity to expand, change.
Did anyone hear anything in that list that they think should be updated?
Nothing struck me as
Did
objectionable.
did the mayor actually nominate us?
No, that's where there's a misnomer here. The way that it works is when somebody applies to be on a board commissioner committee, they fill out an application, it comes to the council.
Yeah.
We look at the applications and then the council person nominates. When you nominate somebody, what you're doing is you're saying, we want to interview that person. There has to be a nomination and a second. That person then gets interviewed. And then the council as a whole votes. So this is not.
So it isn't the mayor.
It isn't,
So
yeah,
should we
it's
take the mayor out?
misrouted, so, and you could change that. The other thing that isn't in here is that if you elect a chair once a year, there's no limit on how long the same person can be chair. If they're on the board for 8 years, they could be chair for 8 years.
And that's something that we haven't been doing anyway, it's only elections, it's just once you become office, you're there until your term is over.
Yeah.
So no, that's not true. I was chair and then Tess came back and Tess became,
Not every chair.
no, it was when Tess came back.
Right,
So they did an election.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, do we wanna keep it like it's saying in every January, or how we've been doing it that you hold your position until you turn out?
I'll tell you, I don't think the council would.
I don't like that.
Okay.
And every year, you know, just holding it until you term out. I think that it's important to have different perspectives from different leaders. And so I would favor
2 years.
no, I don't think so.
Cause there's only 5 of us,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, that when
We'd be repeating a lot. You know, it'd be like a cycle, because in 5 years, or in 4 years, you'd go through every single person.
Well, some people were turning out.
And some people would refuse.
Yes,
some
some
people
people
get
refuse.
For sure.
Yeah, I just feel like there needs to be the opportunity. For example, not that this is true, Megan, but if you were driving me crazy, I would like the opportunity to have somebody else in there. It's not,
Right, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's gonna change.
Right.
The opportunity is there.
right, the opportunity, thank
That's
you.
fine.
Thank
And it would be
you.
by vote, right?
Yeah. Right, so you
Once a
could
year.
vote to keep the same person.
Right, right,
Right.
yeah.
The other thing to consider is that sometimes people quit in midstream of their term. And, do you want it that the next person who gets elected, or that gets appointed automatically goes to a 4-year term? Or do you want it that they basically serve the rest of the empty term? I mean, those are.
I would say a full term.
So does that mean if someone quits halfway through and there's still 2 years left on their term,
And they get a new person.
then that's 4 years from the date they're appointed, or
Over 2 years.
6 years altogether?
No, 2 or
term.
That's right.
Finish
the 2 years.
Do they finish out a 2-year stint?
And then they have to start out.
But
Let's just start it, because we're all cycled.
It ends on a certain day, right? So they'd really be over a 4-year term, and that would be allowed.
Well, you'd have to designate it, since it says it's only a 3-year term, then it would have to be, in my opinion, designated as they completed somebody's 2-year term, for example.
And then started there.
And then they started a 4-year term. But if they wanted to go on again, then it would only be a 2-year term, because then that would be 8 years.
Yeah,
I
no, so
think
that's
if they-
cumbersome.
If
Yeah,
they're,
that's really cumbersome.
let's say you left, and you have 2 years left, and so someone could join and assume your 4-year, right, the remainder of your 4-year term,
Which is 2 years.
call it 2 years, and then at the end of that, they would be up for renewal through the reappointment through the city council.
For a full term.
And I think that would then be their first full term, and
Yes.
to do a whole second 4-year term.
But the
And
question
that's
is,
sort of
that would
10
have to be
years.
defined in bylaws. And I think while it's important that we get the input from every board, commission, and committee about how they think that could work in order to make it as uniform as possible and easy to administer, it's most likely that we would want all of the boards, committees, and commissions to
Have that same process.
have the process of filling out empty terms and reappointment and what constitutes. I know another bylaws I've seen is if you fill out somebody more than half of somebody's term of the previous term, that counts as a full term, but if it's less than 10, it doesn't count. So you could potentially serve.
A full term and a half only, term and 3/4
No.
only.
No,
Double term.
you could do 2.5 terms.
Right. If it's less than a half a term, but if it's more than a half term, you only get 1 3/4 terms.
That's right. That's right.
So has the city council approved any other, so
No, we're
this will be the
waiting,
first
we're waiting
one,
for everything to come in.
so we're gonna set policy here. once we do this.
Well, no, I feel better for us.
Yeah,
It's gonna go into the gazebo. But those are the kinds of details. How do you think in the future this should work for the city?
so is it moot for us to decide this, if you guys are gonna
You're
decide it?
advising the council. That's why you got appointed here to
Okay.
advise us.
Okay.
And then
They'll give us feedback and I'll do this all again.
And then everybody's gonna go with what
Yeah, the council.
they decide.
So this is our opportunity to possibly
Create
yes,
policy.
it is.
All right, so
How do we feel?
for that one, yeah. How do we feel for that one?
Brian, how do you feel for that one?
And that was complicated for me because it touches on so many different bylaws, like when appointments happen and how many appointments it is.
Yeah, without
Yeah.
starting on December 31st, it makes
Exactly,
yeah, that's.
Right.
The other
So
thing
you
that
better just
that
finish.
happens is some cities have all of their boards and commissions expire on December 31st, the very same day. And all appointments made the following day. Now that's a burden, that's a burden. So having staggered positions, and that is how we currently operate with all of our boards and commissions. Is that there are staggered positions. So again, it's yours to.
But staggered just by the fact that we've come on at separate times, like Sarah and I are on the same,
25.
Right.
or the same
Now,
board.
yes, because I can tell you, Megan's term expires on December 31st of this year. Eve's on December 31st of next year. Kathleen's on December 31st of 27. Sarah's December 31st of 28, and Kathy, December 31st of 28.
And what's interesting in the ORS, it says, they indicate July 1 as when things shift over. Not December, so I don't know if that's.
Do you have an extra copy of the ORS?
I just printed
That's
one
all.
copy, yeah.
Yeah.
Um. Yeah, they have it from July 1, so I don't know.
And that's for the state library or for the state library?
Well, for each public library established under these rules will have,
That's important for the council too.
so July 1 is there. And it says nothing, if, the vacancy occurs, the governing body shall appoint a new member for the unexpired term. No person shall hold appointment as a member for more than 2 full consecutive terms. So that makes it sound like they would
Yeah.
follow out 1 and then they'd be able to.
And start
in
at
2 full.
Yes.
Okay,
Well, there's
that sounds good, that sounds good.
Sounds sense.
So,
And any person may be appointed again to the board after an interval of 1 year.
yeah, that's another thing you definitely want to address.
Yes, yeah. So,
That's the
I
way
think
it
that's a good
operated before,
yeah.
when tests came back,
Right.
but it was never common.
It works. I mean, with Tess, it really worked to have her be able to come back. She was a good,
And that when you're down, does give opportunity for someone who hasn't been able to get before. Because in our case, I kind of just had empty seats.
And when you're, like, you're still having them for 4 years, when I'm not, I'm done, since we just. Okay,
well, no, but there are people that apply for this board,
that's,
you know,
yes.
yeah,
Yes,
so.
and we also have to think about if we can have people apply that, love, so that's, too.
Or maybe don't necessarily believe in the mission of the.
Yes, that's better.
So there's a couple other things you could consider in looking, and that is, how much say could or should the current members of the board have in the selection of new members?
Cause right now we have.
You have none.
None.
I do think we should get an opportunity to interview the candidates.
I would
There's
like
something
that.
that we might want to have.
Everyone agree with that?
But then. City council has the vote though.
City council has the final vote, but is
We
that
can
based,
recommend,
you are an advisory body to the city council.
So you.
and would you care? I mean, would the city council actually listen?
It depends on who's on city council.
It does.
It does.
Which will change over time.
Okay, so
because this will-
advice.
So
We
you
have
don't
to
do this
advise.
based on who's in office, you gotta do it,
Okay.
Forever onward.
Right. Cause you
Okay,
are
well, I mean, it
looking
can't
to the
hurt.
future. I think it would be a
Now
good
it's-
idea.
I
if we
guess
can-
I would say it's a time to ask.
Yeah.
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 Peter, would you mind reading off the eligibility again?
Sure. One other thing, and you might want to be putting in there as well, is what is the responsibility of those sitting on the board to recruit? And recruit is the wrong word, I've learned this. You don't recruit, you attract. To attract more new members to the board or interested members. So think about that if you want to put that in as a responsibility. Okay, so must be residents or owners or employees of businesses within the city limits. That's sentence number 1.
Okay.
So
I still have to ask. How was, I mean, I loved him as chair, but how was Russ the chair? He lives in Dearborn.
I live outside the city limits, but I own real estate here, so I pay the taxes for the
Russ.
probably.
So maybe that needs to say must be residents or taxpayers.
Okay, maybe that.
Well, if you're an owner, aren't you a taxpayer?
But if you're an owner of a business, you're not necessarily a taxpayer. And if you're an employee of a business, you're not necessarily a taxpayer. So, but
Well, scratch that one out.
no, not necessarily. Maybe you want to add the word or taxpayer.
We could add humans.
Now, what you have to remember is that
Do you
that
want
you
to
can have a
say
taxpayer who lives in Elements.
That's true. If the way it's worded now, kind of means you're probably an active community member, or at least you have interest in this community, not necessarily, you know, an Airbnb downtown.
Right.
I like the business owner, the employee. Is there anyone else we would want to add?
The only other thing I can think of is, and this would apply to Kathleen somewhat, is, you could be a resident within the city limits or the urban growth boundary.
How far does the urban growth bound?
It can only go so far. We have to, every year or every once in a while, we have to decide where our urban growth boundary
And that's
is.
about it. The Circle Creek,
Okay,
that's about as far as it goes on that side of the highway. On my side of the highway, it doesn't. I'm not in it. Oh, I'm in the urban growth.
You're in the
Yes,
urban
I'm
growth.
in the urban growth.
visual stuff.
Yeah.
So you might want to consider that.
But why would we have an employee that, you know, worked in Seaside? You know, I mean,
I think.
Say that again, why would we have an employee?
yeah, why,
On the board.
what, if there's a person that lives in Gearhart,
Yeah,
but they work in a restaurant or they're a
Mhm.
secretary or something, do they have the right to be on the library board?
I think if the business owner has a right to, then the employee has a right to as well. Because then it's kind of a class divide. You don't have the money to own a business, so you can't have say. Or not everyone get it,
Okay.
which.
I think we,
More or less.
I think we wanna try to define, which is hard, who has a vested interest in the
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, that's exactly it, is someone who has a vested interest in the community. What creates that vested interest?
well, part of it is stated there, resident, business owner.
Property owner.
Property owner.
So that's what I'm saying, an employee, do they have a vested interest?
Maybe they do. I
Maybe
don't
they
know.
do, but maybe they don't. You know?
Maybe they're an employee here, but they want to be a resident here, but there's no housing for them.
Right.
So is that a vested interest? I don't know.
Right, and the problem with vested interest, even though it sounds good, it's very subjective.
It is very subjective.
And you can have a property owner who owns 50 properties and just one is in Seaside. Is that, how much of a vested interest is that?
Right.
So the other way to think about it is maybe they have to be a library card holder. Because we know that when you apply for a library card here, you have to show proof of residency. I'm just throwing this out.
That's an interesting twist.
And now we have so many different types of library cards. So you
Right,
can
with transit.
purchase cards, you can.
Then you have to
passport card.
define that, yeah. I mean, I have a passport card to Hillsborough. No way in hell should they put me on the Hillsborough line.
That's true.
It's a lot to think about.
Not that you wouldn't be great on any board team.
Well, then the other question is too about, so let's say you moved away, but you wanted to stay on the board. You know, does that mean you're no longer eligible to be on the board even though you're, so like if the circumstances change, if we have these guidelines for eligibility, if those circumstances change,
We have precedent,
do you then have to set
we have
that?
precedent. We had a very good board member on one of our boards. And he actually lost his lease on his apartment and could not find another apartment in town. And he had to move to, I think, Eston. And unfortunately, he had to ask him to get off the board, then he was on the commission. Now, we actually during my tenure on the city council, we had two such situations. And in both cases, what we did was we gave them a grace period to find a place to live in the city, which they couldn't do.
So eligibility, what other issues? See,
So the next sentence is, the board consists of 5 members appointed by, and so this one is probably an easy one for you. Do you want to stay at 5 members? Do you think it should be more?
Is that something that's mandated by this?
it's at least 5, at least no more than.
Well, my God.
Many times what you see in bylaws is they say between X number and X number, so that if you lose a couple of people, you're not quite so scurrying to find another person. And so you might think of that.
I have been on a board where I think 7 is the optimal number, 5 to 7. The other one was 5 to 9, but I thought that was 2. But Tita's right, I mean, there is that point where you might lose 1 or 2. And does that totally negate a quorum? So I wouldn't mind seeing that changed so that we have a little more leeway, 5 to 7 or whatever.
Okay.
I don't know that we leave it open-ended though, because then it would just be on council, right? If we had so many nominations, the council would like nominations, they could say, no, we're only gonna have 5 this year. Or it just feels a little too manipulative, able to be manipulated.
It's something that I don't believe council has ever discussed, and I think it would be a novel one.
I don't think that they, if it, do they have the power to say, well, okay, I think it should just be 5 people, so these 3 people that are, you know.
Well, if we
applying,
leave it open-ended, say 5 to 7, then
They'd
Yeah.
probably fill it up. I think they would fill it up, because if they had applicants, they'd say yes.
potentially, but are you thinking about today's council or any council that may come to be in the future?
I don't know why they would say no.
Because they might have an application
that is
that didn't
inappropriate,
agree with
yeah, but
their
it's not personal.
personal views or.
Well, they do that anyway.
This is the opportunity in here that, where it says, appointed by the mayor, you could insert screened and recommended by
Library.
the library board to be,
let's do
recommended to be
that.
appointed by the
Let's
council.
do that.
I do like.
That gives you an opportunity to
Yeah.
do it.
Is recommended okay?
You're an advisory board
You
to
can
the
recommend.
council, you can recommend.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Think about the extra responsibility it puts on you.
Like an extra meeting for an interview session.
Speaking of extra meetings. I don't think we're anywhere close to really submitting something to city council. I'm going to miss the next meeting, I'll miss September. Do we think we can fit this in a regular meeting or do we need to have a special session?
And we need to
I think we do too.
Just about every
Yeah.
other board,
Yeah.
commission and committee is having at least one special
Yeah.
session just to do this.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
When do I have it?
Whenever.
Are Tuesdays good? No? Okay, well, what is a good day? I don't have not Fridays or Mondays. Or Saturdays.
Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we can avoid, is everybody okay with Thursday?
Okay, Thursdays.
As long as it's not the 3rd Thursday.
Okay, let's see.
14.
14th or 28th?
One of those the 3rd.
Nope, that's the
I don't know.
28th I can't because I'm taking my mother to Hillsborough.
And that's good to post. I would say the earlier in the month would be better.
better. So the 14th,
14th. Okay. Are we doing?
Wait, so we're August,
14th.
And I give yourself.
It's Nick's birthday, my son's birthday, but
oh,
I can work around that, but I do have a mediation.
oh, wait a minute, August 14th?
Yeah,
Sorry.
and not the 21st either.
That's the third. That's a third.
That's a Thursday.
I'm sorry, but there's lots of 14th is highly medical in my house right now.
That's
Okay, well, what a different day.
How about
You said not Tuesdays.
Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday?
Wednesdays,
Not Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. And Thursday, we have a meeting.
What
If you
about
wanna do
Saturday?
day after tomorrow,
I think we need a longer time to chew on all this. Maybe.
chew, what are we gonna chew? We don't have anything to.
And Sarah's not so we.
Oh, okay,
So think about all the questions that we've asked today and any questions that you might have come up with.
what about a Saturday?
or the 15th, Friday the 15th.
No, my husband's having surgery.
Friday the 22nd.
and I can't do Friday the 22nd.
What if we do? A Tuesday, but do it late,
Like how late?
so.
Like after dinner, you mean, like an evening meeting?
I barely make it here as is on the first Tuesday. How about?
You said you can't do Wednesdays either?
So I'm only booked the rest of this month and, or really through September 10th, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So I can do after that, but I don't know if that would maybe be too late.
Yeah, it's pretty late.
You can do it without me, I guess, there's no purpose.
But I think that's what's gonna happen, is we're not gonna be able to find a one that's good for
Did
everybody.
you look at a Saturday? Saturday, but I don't know if that's.
And I said Saturday, but nobody said a word.
Saturdays are, kind of family time. But if it's not the 9th, I could do a Saturday.
Saturday is 16.
August.
Yeah, that should work for me.
Okay.
It's a Saturday.
The
That's
9th,
the
but I
9th.
bet that's
I
Paul
gotta
McEwen's
check.
funeral and it's just sad.
Oh, that's fine.
And it's Regatta weekend.
Oh, that's Regatta. Regatta.
It's
Yeah.
I don't really know what Saturday, so I'm listening to them.
Yeah, I'm
Looking at my
I'm supposed to be getting firewood, but I could work around that.
If you don't set anything now, everyone go home, look at their calendar.
Okay.
We'll
I think
set
you're
out.
gonna find more if you don't set it now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, somebody really has their full calendar in front of them, right?
I got my full calendar.
I
know.
I
So-
don't,
So right now, we are still set for September 2nd.
Yeah,
oh,
Which is the first,
right.
the first Tuesday.
Well, maybe we make that a 2-hour meeting.
Okay, I just thought of something. City council is not meeting on August the 25th, so doing it later in the month isn't gonna be that bad. So that if you look at that, like Friday the 22nd.
That
Yeah, I
has
can't
already
go.
been proposed,
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
I think we should
Or Friday.
plan on maybe having a longer meeting at our next library board meeting, like add another 45 minutes
Or more,
or more,
or come early and stay later.
whatever.
Well, if we're gonna do that, Tina suggested a 2-hour for just the
Well,
ordinance.
you'll notice there's no new business on our agenda.
Right.
And we did get some of it in today. So maybe we start with an hour, an extra hour.
Okay,
On September second.
yeah, so why don't we meet at 3 o'clock?
Those are all issues that came from the existing ordinance, right?
What I read to you was out of the
The
existing
yeah.
ordinance, and what Spencer sent out is all, basically a list of possibilities. Cause you got that packet that Spencer sent, didn't you? Yeah.
Well, it was an email, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, and it ends up being a packet, and it's like things to consider. So, and that's kind of what I was trying to do, was just
Yeah.
throw things out,
Yeah.
consider this.
And look where it got us.
I'm sorry.
No, it's good. We need those things.
Awesome.
All right, so next meeting will be Tuesday, September second.
You said you're not gonna be here.
I will not be here
Okay.
Ooh.
So we'll have, do you wanna start it at 3?
at 3 p.m.
I think that's a good
Okay.
idea.
Let's do that.
Maybe consider
September
it
2nd.
protocol.
And, I can get it set from you ahead of time.
Yeah.
And then you.
Send it as comments.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that,
Or maybe you and I can have
Mhm.
it sit down and just figure out.
yeah,
The questions that we want folks to. Sure.
and really think about, what do you want your level of authority? What do you want your level of responsibility? You know, what did I say, recommending policy is always there. So it's kind of think about that. Yeah.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.
Alright, so let me just show you, so here are 2 bags, we're selling these for $10, and we're selling these for $15, because these are bigger, better.
And recommended.
They're prettier,
Prettier, yeah,
more functional.
so,
But the other one's waterproof.
yeah, but it doesn't hold as many books.
I couldn't